Well, hello everyone. It's Alva here yet again. Well, today is finally the day I make this video. Sorry for being gone so long yet again. I won't give any sob stories here, but life has been life. I actually wrote most of this script earlier this year, so I've been sitting around thinking on this for quite a bit. I want to finally talk about the state of Marauders and some suggestions I have. Yes, the player count has been low, but no, I don't think SIG has abandoned it. It's not a dead game. Just to address that issue front and center though, SIG has dropped the ball on communication in a lot of ways. Now, I've always defended them on stuff like this, but it's time for me to also just be honest. I want to say that Met and Aphrodite have been active on the Reddit, sure, but it is concerning to a lot of players that Steam updates are coming in really slow. The last update was in August, and what we heard before that was, sorry, but we're going to have to split this giant update we've been working on for months into several smaller updates. Well, where are they? We have no clue. I don't mean to be a dick, but a casual player might not browse Reddit or be in the Discord. We need to see progress even on the back end. I don't need dates, I just want to see progress. Zomboid notoriously takes forever to update, but each month I get to see what's being worked on, and that generates hype. It also helps out us YouTube slop creators, who can then make a video showing off the new crap, so you get a little more hype. To that point, have you guys at SIG thought about doing a bi-weekly or even monthly update on Steam? Project Zomboid does Thursdoids, which show off what they've been working on each month. It gets people hyped for the game and shows off what you're doing. Right now, we just have no clue. We've been told a lot, but I have nothing to look forward to right now with Marauders. It does feel dead. Now look, I don't know if I should also be blaming Team 17 in this. As you know, Team 17 was the entire reason the update was delayed last year by several months, but due to legality issues, I assume, I don't think SIG could say that. So if that's who's to blame here, someone leak that to me and I'll say it again, man. Okay, so now onto some suggestions and thoughts. Marauders suffers from a lack of a player base after each wipe. It's harsh to say, but let's admit it. Player retention is very, very low. This isn't news to anybody, including SIG, so I don't think it needs to be posted 800 times a day. When the Guilds update launched last winter, 1,600 players was the peak. When Retribution came out in August, the peak was half of the Guilds update, at 800. The drop-off was also quite quicker with Retribution than with the Guilds update. Now, I don't want to paint this as doom and gloom. Marauders does have the potential to go very far if tweaked in the right ways, but something's got to be done. Now, ultimately, this game is small impacts. These are just my suggestions. I do think SIG has grand ideas for the game, and they've got my support in these goals. I don't mean any disrespect with anything discussed in the video. I might make more videos going to the depth about some more suggestions, but the one I want to focus on currently is questing, and more specifically the Zero to Hero questline, which is the most often critiqued. And again, I have no idea. They might be working on a Zero to Hero total overhaul. I have no clue. We don't know, and that's why I'm saying this. I have to be honest, and I'm not a big fan of the questline, and I don't think most of the community is either. It's pretty much been a source of complaint since day one. Despite the overhauls to make most quests less RNG heavy, I still don't think it's really an answer. Even this latest update, Retribution, kept me from coming back to the game. I haven't played Marauders in honestly almost a year. New maps and guns don't do it for me, and it seems like it's not helping others stick around either. We need a core overhaul. It's time to put the maps and guns to the side, I think. The main issue I take with these quests is they're not engaging whatsoever and do nothing in the long term to show off more of the world building. I know SIG wants to keep lore strictly vague, but at the current moment, it's basically non-existent. Marauders quests are either deliver X, hold or examine X area, or kill X with X. The problem with this structure is it's not complex, nor does it feel like I'm engaging with the world. These feel more like challenges rather than actual quest lines. It's more like akin to Hunt or Tarkov's daily challenges. Before I offer some suggestions and dive deeper, I want to go take a gander at some other extraction games and see how they do quests. First, I guess we ought to talk about Tarkov, seeing as it's the king in this regard. Now, Tarkov has always had a tough time with quests. Most players don't finish all the quests in Tarkov just due to the sheer amount of time, grind, or frankly BS it takes to complete some of them, but we can use them as a good example. Marauders has 50-ish quests, not counting in-raid quests, of course, or guild things, or this is specifically Zero to Hero. Tarkov has over 200. Now, Tarkov didn't always have this many, so I'm not expecting Marauders to have this many now either. I'm just using this as an example. Tarkov quests are also complex, difficult, and vary quite a bit with how they play out. It doesn't feel that much like a loop, but keeps it somewhat fresh. I know Tarkov gets flack for its quest lines, but it's one of the things that keeps thousands of people coming back every single wipe. Looking at one Tarkov trader's quest line shows the variety you can expect. Proper, one Tarkov trader has as many quests as Marauders 0 to Hero does. But in just his one line, you'll locate stores and items within them, mark trucks in an area, locate a convoy in a PMC camp, find a key to a truck and get a pocket watch, find a folder in one raid location and dump it into another raid location, find some lost mail and return it, locate someone's workplace and their body to discover their fate, find an underground bunker and then the control room, steal valuables from a locked room, and on and on. Other quests from other traders include killing players while you're dressed with certain gear, surviving all raid locations, stashing a sniper and tools in a boat along the shore, killing players with snipers from long distance, wearing certain body armor to test its durability, hunting down an employee's office of a lab to find out info on his work, etc., etc. As you can see, there's a lot of variation in what you're doing. It's not just finding random loot items, but finding unique things in the world. Of course, it's not the most interesting stuff, but it leaves room for storytelling. One thing to note is, you get a cool message each time you turn in a quest which tells you more about that quest or story. It's a nice touch. A lot of these quests also tell a story, and the story can span multiple quests. There are personal stakes involved on the trader's part, or something that weaves a loose story together as you go along. There is also a loose narrative being spun with everything. No, not all of them are good, but they give us something Marauder misses, and that's an honest shame. There aren't many quests I can really think of that add to the world or feel like it makes sense at all. Sure, the United Allies want to test some pistols, but why? Just because they're better? Why do I need to examine the engines on merchant ship? What does that gain me this wipe, either in goods or lore? These quests also solve another problem of Marauders, which is players running in, doing one thing, and then dipping. A lot of Tarkov quests force the player to go to one end of the map to the other and actually look around. If we want players to interact with the world and maps of Marauders, they need a reason past looking for loot or holding an area for 30 seconds. Of course, I would also reason Tarkov does well with the traders each having their own quest lines. Marauders only has the pirate line. I really think having quests for each trader or faction would help out a lot with world building and generally keep us bouncing around a lot. Currently, you can only do one 0 to Hero quest at a time in Marauders, and often can get stuck entirely searching for one item or trying to get kills with certain rare weapons. Of course, this is normal and to be expected, but it happens far too often. Let's take a look at the now dead Cycle Frontier. The Cycle also had some pretty decent and engaging quest lines. Hunt down drones and its photographer owner, finding rare loot rooms, finding security footage and returning with it, visiting and dropping off parts to repair comm towers, finding notes on how to kill certain creatures and then killing several of them, powering up a reactor by dropping off parts, find some meteors and collect the fragments. It also had loads of quests that boiled down to forcing the player to really explore the locations and force them into certain zones of the map. It utilized its maps to the fullest and made sure players had to look around for things. Finally, I want to look at Hunt Showdown. This might seem harsh, but in the current moment, Marauders has quests more akin to Hunt's challenges, like I said earlier. Kill X enemies with Y weapon. It works okay for Hunt, but that's because Hunt has a drastically different approach to the genre. It's an extraction shooter, sure, but there isn't a focus on loot. Hunt's loop involves hunting for clues, finding the boss, killing it, and getting out. That loop is super addictive as well. Why so? What keeps 20,000 people a day coming back each day? Current controversy aside. It's that tense feeling that the game offers, and its excellent gunfights to boot. The loop scratches an itch between a battle royale and an extraction shooter. I don't need missions to play Hunt, I want to play Hunt for the competitive aspects, the world, the gunfights. I wish Marauders had some sort of quests like this. 10% chance to spawn in a lobby that's a 1 point of interest area and has next to no loot, but a boss is roaming around somewhere and the booty will be good for those that can take him down. I get that there are bosses, but I mean making the boss the entire point of a random raid rather than a roaming loot bag. Just a general focus on having that one big thing per location that we all have a reason to fight over. This leads into a quick separate point, but I do feel as if guns in Marauders should hurt like they do in Hunt. Hunt shootouts are insanely good and feel great. It's nice to have a fighting chance and not just get gunned down in 1 second by yet another MAC-10 user. But more gear suggestions later on. So let's look at Marauders 0 to Hero quests for a second now. Marauders has 53 0 to Hero quests as I can tell. 22 of these are some variation of turning in found in raid loot. 18 of them are a variation of killing something. 7 are holding an area, 4 are destroying turrets or mines. Only 2 Marauders quests are what I would call unique, as you don't really do anything like it again. These are find a forklift and find a stash. This means about 95% of the time you're playing, you will be doing a repeat of something you've done before, but with a slight change. I think, and this is going to sound harsh, this isn't good nor well designed. I get that it was probably placeholder, but it still feels more akin to a live service game that thinks challenges are what keeps players coming back. I don't think that's what SIG's aiming for, of course, it's just where I feel we are now. I do think holding the areas is fine, and it makes me go to certain points of the map, but they're not what I'd call engaging. It just boils down to either being man enough to kill other Marauders or waiting until the map is dead before holding an area for 90 seconds, or 10 minutes on a capital ship. So what do I really think about all this? Well, I've looked into some other games with you, and I've been thinking about this for a while. I'd like to see something like Tarkov's Trader Quests. I want to work for the Kingdom Alliance, or United Allies rather than just the Pirates. If lore is an issue, then set it up like the Pirates are our fixers like in Cyberpunk or something. Having multiple ways to chase down quests and not get locked into the same grind each time I play would be nice. Just having more variety on how the game functions and how I can progress can really help with burnout. I mean, you always hear about Tarkov guys like, oh, I'm on this part. Oh God, not that part. Like there's a clear distinction between all of the quest lines where you can like talk to your buddies about what part you're on and like, oh man, that's the tough part, blah, blah, blah. Like Marauders is not like, oh, I'm looking for biscuit tins. Oh, well, I'm looking for motor oil. Like it's always this, I'm just looking for something. Oh, I gotta get a flamethrower to kill these guys with. I'd also like to see the world be used better. If you're gonna have all these maps, I mean, that have all this lore, we need lore. I mean, give me a multi-part quest where I have to help the United Allies hunt down a bioweapon their foes are creating. Why did all the people die from the flu at the spaceport bar? What treasure was the crazed lunatic in the padded cell and penal colony talking about? What's this map and Navy outpost pinging to? Let me hunt down a colonist's body and pass his dying letter on. Let me see why the Planet Killer base came into being. Let me examine a few engines and find out why the merchant ships are the best. I want quests like in RPGs, not challenges. I want small stories played out with steps that are more than go grab or kill this thing and leave. Of course I want loot, but that's because I want to keep playing the game and doing quests. Loot should make questing easier, not be the quests. I don't mind loot quests, but at least make it fit into the world and be a unique part of it. I know we've gone the route of less RNG heavy quests, i.e. no more merchant ship engine, but I think those would be fine to bring back if we had multiple ways to progress. I wouldn't be pissed looking for just penal colony items if I also had 3 other missions on spaceport, cruiser, terraformer, etc. It gives me more things to look for than just grinding out kills with a certain weapon for multiple raids. It's nice in Tarkov to find things needed for another quest you're doing. I need to be on the lookout for multiple things in each raid. It adds a nice shopping list of things to do in-game while not boring me with the same repetitive grind each time searching yet again for that biscuit tin. And I know in-raid quests really do kind of help with that, but there's only a handful of them, and once you do them once, they're just, again, it's just a checklist. I want to know more about the world and feel like I'm really making a difference in that regard. Does Rosie give me more medical supplies or a great discount for finding all medical locations on maps? Maybe Overlord offers me some prototype weapons for finding rare documents scattered across all locations. I mean, there's millions of things you could do. I still think having some rare quest location with a boss or extra loot would be cool. Maybe the map in Navy Outpost leads to a long-lost treasure or a long-thought-dead pirate lord, but we need to find a ticket for a warp gate to get there. There's so much you can do. I'd also advocate locking some things in the traders until certain quest lines are completed. I love the way the traders work now, but I'd really like to see even more gear locked behind harder endgame quests. Another reason for this is high-end gear is way too easy to get. If those were locked behind traders or quest rewards rather than being found out in the world, new players could have a chance to jump in and try the game out before those that get good. Currently, new people pick up the game, get stomped by the 50 vets storming around, and then they quit. It's just too much to handle. Hell, even doing something like a mini wipe throughout an update period would help with this. We talked about a player market system in the game before, like a, flea market or whatever, but we already have that. It's called the bodies of your foes. Maybe a level 12 Panzerwig should only be a reward for endgame quests. The only other way to get that armor is to kill someone who's done the quest. That's the kind of player market I'd like to see. Endgame quests with rare weapons and gear that you're only rewarded with when you either do the quest yourselves or take down a juicer. Knowing that a high level set of gear was either paid for in blood or a reward for some higher ranked quest it took you 20 hours to get to. Maybe we could unlock certain player cosmetics by completing a quest line. Maybe a cool biohazard combat unit suit for doing the bio weapon quest line I suggested earlier. All in all, I think this is really where Marauders is struggling when it comes to the player base. I don't want to do Zero to Hero again. I also don't feel like just PvPing either. So what do? I hang out with my friends in the game for a couple of weeks each update and then move along until next wipe. I haven't even done that lately though. There are tons of games I can play to just hang out with my buddies. And I don't say this to be harsh or to say the game's dead, but I do think a questing overhaul is desperately needed for the life of Marauders. And I don't mean a rework or a rebalance of Zero to Hero, but a true overhaul that changes the approach to questing in general, with meaningful rewards. I do hope this sparks a conversation down below, and I'd love to hear your thoughts on this. Look, Marauders does have the potential to do great, I've always said that. But it's up to us to help SIG out with honest, open, and constructive feedback. None of this game's dead whining, like the game's not dead until they move on. Okay, like unless we get actual confirmation that they are done, that Team 17 is shutting them down, the game is going to continue being updated. They put money into it, it's not going anywhere. I get the complaint of like 50 players a day, but it's not dead. I've got some thoughts on ships and other things in the game, but man, maybe we'll get to that when we get to that. Thanks as always to SIG for making Marauders. We wish you the best of luck. I'm working on a few other videos right now, mainly focused on some single player games I've been messing around in, so expect a few more essay style videos before we get back into the multiplayer swing of things. Sorry again, it's been so long. It's a story for another time, I suppose, but thank you for watching, guys. We'll see you in the next one.